17 June Portugal versus Congo. No, no, no. Ronaldo versus Congo. $5 billion bets versus Congo. Portugal have never played DR Congo. Not once. In 52 years of international football between these two nations, there is no head-to-head record, not in a friendly, not in qualifying, not at a major tournament. When the whistle blows at NRG Stadium in Houston on June 17th, both coaching staffs will be working from inference rather than evidence. My name is David. Everything you hear can be checked. Portugal enter this match ranked 5th in the world by FIFA. DR Congo sit 45th. The betting markets price Portugal at around 350 on the money line, DR Congo at plus 1,000, a draw at plus 475. The consensus is a comfortable Portuguese win. On paper, that consensus is reasonable. Portugal are reigning Nations League champions under Roberto Martinez, arriving in Group K as one of the 5 best-ranked teams in world football. Bernardo Silva, Vitinha, and Bruno Fernandes form a midfield that very few national teams in this tournament can match. Out wide, Rafael Leão and Pedro Neto are capable of exposing any defense when given space. At 41, Cristiano Ronaldo holds the men's international records for most appearances and most goals, 226 caps, 143 goals. In the 2025-26 season, he contributed 25 goals in 30 appearances under Martinez, a better goals-per-game ratio than under any of his previous Portugal managers. The case for dismissing him is not as clean as some analysts suggest. For DR Congo, the fixture sheet is unsparing. This is their first World Cup since 1974, when they competed as Zaire, and their best finish then was the group stage. Every player in their squad is a World Cup first-timer. That fact alone carries weight. So does this one. A 41-year-old man is playing his 6th and final World Cup, chasing the only major prize that has escaped him. Both of those things are true tonight, and neither of them changes the tactical problem each side has to solve. The consensus reads that Portugal's midfield depth, defensive structure, and a striker still. Producing in tournament football should be sufficient to see off a side attending their first modern-era World Cup. That analysis is not wrong. It is incomplete. The detail most coverage moves past quickly is how Sébastien Desabre has built DR Congo over 4 years. Start with the defensive spine and take each name separately. Aaron Wan-Bissaka played at West Ham in the Premier League this season. Axel Tuanzebe was at Burnley. Noah Sadiki at Sunderland. Yoan Wissa at Newcastle. Captain Chancel Mbemba, with 107 caps, is at Lille in League One. These are not players adjusting to the pace of elite football. They operate at European club level every week. They know how to hold a defensive shape under sustained pressure, because they do it in professional competition against professionals. Under Desabre, DR Congo most commonly play a compact 4-1-4-1. A deep holding midfielder anchors the shape. 2 energetic number 8s press and carry. Cedric Bakambu leads the line, stretching defenses with his movement. They are also comfortable in a back 3, a system Desabre used in qualifying against Togo and South Sudan. Against Portugal's expected 4-3-3, that alternative gives DR Congo an extra central body and wingbacks to compress the wide corridors where Nuno Mendes and João Cancelo look to operate. The main criticism of this DR Congo side is that they rarely dominate aesthetically or create freely in open play. But defensively, they have become extremely difficult to break down. Under Desabre, they have never lost by more than 1 goal. Not once. That record held through 3 years of competitive football, through the African qualifying group, through the playoffs against Cameroon, Nigeria, and Jamaica. Desabre has said directly that defensive solidity is the foundation of how this team operates. Now consider the tension point inside Portugal's system. Martinez uses Ronaldo as a box finisher. The positioning and finishing in the penalty area remain elite. The midfield does the defensive work. But critics argue his static positioning makes the attack predictable and reliant on crosses. Gonçalo Ramos, who offers more pressing intensity and off-the-ball movement, is most likely to start on the bench. The reduced mobility of a 41-year-old striker affects the team's pressing intensity from the front. Portugal's system accounts for this, but it means that when DR Congo win the ball in midfield and transition quickly, the space behind Ronaldo is the primary target. He cannot track back the way a younger striker can. Ruben Dias is equipped to cover that ground. The question is whether it happens often enough to become decisive. When DR Congo defend in their 4-1-4-1, it compresses the central lanes that Bruno Fernandes typically exploits between the lines. This is not a passive defense waiting to absorb. It is a structured one, designed specifically to remove the spaces that Portugal's most dangerous creative player needs to operate. The first time Portugal's midfield loses the ball under pressure in their own half, watch what DR Congo's number 8s do immediately. And watch where Ronaldo is when that transition begins. Those two data points in the opening 30 minutes will tell you more about this match than any pre-game analysis, including this one. Portugal should win. Portugal average 2. 34 expected goals per match. DR Congo average 1. 40. Portugal average 20. 2 shots per match. DR Congo average 11. 5. Those numbers reflect the quality gap accurately. Portugal's wide forwards are faster than DR Congo's backline. If the fullbacks push high as they typically do under Martinez, there will be space in behind for both teams to exploit on transitions. The likeliest outcome is a Portugal win. The margin and the pattern of the game depend almost entirely on whether Portugal break DR Congo's block inside the first 30 minutes. An early goal, through a Fernandes through ball, a set piece, or a Leão run that cuts back to Ronaldo near the penalty spot, forces DR Congo out of their shape. Once that shape is gone, Portugal's midfield has space, and the match becomes comfortable. If Portugal have not scored by the 60th minute and DR Congo have maintained their structure, the match shifts. Portugal will grow more direct. Desabre may switch to the back three, moving Wan-Bissaka into a wing-back role and adding a central body. The game tightens. DR Congo conceded an average of 0. 4 goals per match across their last 5 competitive results. Portugal will create more chances and better ones, but this is not a side that disintegrates under pressure. The prediction is a Portugal win, 2-0 or 2-1, with the second goal arriving in the final 20 minutes. Fernandes or Ronaldo scores at least one. DR Congo get a counter-attacking opportunity, and whether they convert it determines the final scoreline. The strongest counter-argument is not speculative. Morocco defended deep and attacked on the break in Qatar in 2022. Portugal were knocked out in the quarterfinals. Desabre has built precisely the kind of team that causes Portugal that specific discomfort. Resilient defensive block. Pace on the transition. A striker in Bakambu with international goals. If Wissa is sharp and DR Congo score before Portugal find a second, a draw is a real result. What the prediction may get wrong is the psychological variable. How the first major tournament of these players' lives, on a 68,000-seat stage against one of the world's most recognized footballing nations, affects DR Congo's defensive concentration in the opening 20 minutes cannot be measured in advance. If Portugal's wide forwards get in behind early and often, the quality gap becomes too large for the structural advantages to compensate. Watch DR Congo's defensive shape in the first 5 minutes of Portugal possession. If they drop into a disciplined 4-1-4-1 mid-block, 2 banks holding, their lines, the holding midfielder sitting in front of the back 4, the shape compact and narrow, that is the structure that kept them from losing by more than 1 goal through 3 years of competitive football. Every scenario above is live. If instead they press high and leave space in behind, Portugal's forwards will find it immediately, and the match will be settled before halftime. That early shape tells you which match you are watching.